That's great.
Oh.
I sat down today and I made a quick thumbnail. You know, normally I take some more time to do this, but I thought for this meeting I just make a quick little sketch.
Awesome.
And um, well, last year I made this illustration.
Oh, I remember that one.
And
Yeah.
it was for mermaid, so I thought because it's just started mermaid, I thought I'd make another mermaid painting, and so I thought I'd do something based on this character because it will be something to add to my portfolio. And so this was made in with watercolors in several layers,
Mm-hmm.
and so I did that again, but then for this for this painting.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I already made a quick scan of some of the layers,
Ooh.
but I don't know if you would like to know how I import the watercolors from my scanner, or is there anything in particular you would like to know?
I don't know if we need to know about importing from the scanner. That's usually pretty straightforward, isn't it? My scanner's pretty straightforward. It's like click scan, receive
Yeah,
file.
exactly. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what to show you.
Oh, fair enough.
But
No,
You
it's
do
just
use a
then
scanner, not a phone or camera?
phone? Sorry?
some people take pictures of their watercolor with their phone or a dedicated camera instead of scanning.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
I don't do that. No,
Oh, fair
but
enough.
maybe it has uh, benefits. Maybe I should do it next time.
Yeah, I think some people use a camera if it's like a big watercolor piece.
Yeah.
But scanner,
Yeah.
good to know. All right. What DPI did you scan it in at? Like 300 or?
I do 600.
Okay, cool.
So I will scan the background for this piece, and that's all that I need to do.
Okay, cool.
Oh wait.
This is all new to me, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I really. It's really first. It's also my first Zoom meeting. So if I'm doing anything weird, just tell me.
You're good. Just do you.
So
you're good.
I usually scan it at 600 DPI, but I think 300 would also be fine. So there's no
Okay,
real
cool.
reason why I do that. And I do scan it as a TIFF file.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's. I think there's nothing more to tell you here.
Fantastic. On we go then, I suppose.
Do you paint in hot press or cold press paper? Like
hot pressed.
Hmm?
Sorry, hot press.
Hot press. It's a smooth paper. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Neat. Okay, cool.
I've found I like hot press better as well than cold press.
I think it's easier to scan. It's like the cold press probably has too much texture, like it creates shadows and stuff. It's like
I do have some very grainy paper in hot press too, but I don't use it that often. So.
Oh, I like that.
So this is the background for the piece. So it's kind of like this one, you know. I just created something with similar effects.
That's beautiful. What? Now I'm an utter novice newbie. I don't know anything about watercolor. Are you using any special kind of watercolor for this? Is this like some kind of like, I know some people use like alcohol watercolor or alcohol ink instead of watercolor, but like what is this, I guess is what I'm saying.
These are just regular watercolors.
Oh, okay,
they
cool.
are Winsor and Newton, and I did use some Aqualine for the background, but it's ink. It's also water based, so it's not alcohol.
Okay, cool. Do you go anywhere for your like tutorials on how to make an interesting like background like this?
I did, I think, when
Okay, cool.
I started painting, but yeah, this is I just did something. Oh, well, I did
Fair
some
enough.
things that I normally do. So yeah,
Okay,
How
cool.
large is the sheet of paper you did the background on?
it's A4 sized. I don't know if you know the
Right.
European.
Yeah, it's about 8.5 by 11. A4
Yeah.
is it's
Oh,
little.
Yeah.
nice.
It's about the same.
Yeah. So I usually just go ahead and create a new file for the illustration itself because I'm not going to work on top of the background. And it's also, yeah, A4, so it's what you said, I think, in pixels.
Awesome.
Inch. And I also work in RGB to start with. So I heard that someone also did that with, I think, Braden.
Well, I work in RGB because I have to work in RGB.
Okay.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people do that, though. I don't think working in CMYK is weird,
Yeah, I
from
think
what
so
I've
too.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I work in RGB too.
Awesome. I think that's pretty standard.
Yeah. I just have to move you somewhere where you're not in my lane. Can you see yourself here, or?
Oh, I've actually minimized my talking head. If you,
Oh, you can only see Photoshop, so.
yeah, I can
That's-
only see Photoshop.
Okay. Yeah. You're on top of my layers.
Oh, apologies.
So I'm going to just.
I wish I
eliminate
could
you.
move myself, but
Okay. So, yeah, I think I can
Awesome.
get started. This is so
Yeah.
awkward. I'm really not used to this.
it is all good.
Okay. So let's start by bringing in the background here.
Cool.
So first, I'm going to edit the edit the background before I just put it in there.
Yeah.
And I do this by editing the curves and the levels, and
Oh, okay.
until it gets the right feel
Yeah,
to
until
me.
you get that look you want.
Yeah, it's not really too complicated. There must be a lot of ways to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm struggling a bit with the Zoom
Oh, I'm sorry.
windows. There are in front of Photoshop, so.
Yeah, it really likes to get in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, I don't think I'm going to make it too bright. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So usually I just go in and fix some errors I made, or just some little things that went wrong along the way.
Okay.
And I use the clone stamp a lot. I don't know if if anybody does, but
Like I said, this is all new to me because I don't use Photoshop. So
oh, you don't use Photoshop? Oh,
no,
okay.
I use Corel Painter, which is
Oh, really?
weird.
I never use that. Sorry.
You don't need to.
Well, I did start in PaintShop Pro, I think, before I used Photoshop. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, neat. Yeah, so you're just like fixing up little scuffs and.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything really
No, it looks really nice.
bad. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm just going to select it and put it in the file.
Okay,
So it will,
cool.
of course, be very large because this is 600 dpi and the, the file I created is 300. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to minimize that. So when I make it too small, you get you get this little bit of paper on
Oh
top.
yeah, that little nubbin.
Yeah, I actually had to change that before, but oh well.
For the purposes of this exercise, looks awesome.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm just winging it here.
Did you use a wet on wet technique or a wet on dry technique for this one?
I wet on wet. So to start with, I made the whole sheet of paper wet, and then I started to create the background. I have a little bit of the process filmed on Instagram. But as I am working, I keep on adding paint to it. So in the end, it's actually almost dry, and then I still add, the little white textures. And when it's almost dry, you get a little bit of time to create some crazy patterns and stuff.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And really the color and these effects, they were made the first.
The first pass with the wet on wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now I have to put the mermaid in, and I actually have a lot of other creatures that are going to be inside of there. So I don't think I'll manage that in an hour, but
whatever you want to do is all good.
Okay, so they are supposed to stand in line. That's the concept, to get a little kiss from from the mermaid. So that's the concept. And here's a little fishy that swims away that has gotten his kiss.
That is just adorable.
And yeah, she didn't really turn out great in the watercolors, but yeah, you can fix that pretty well.
Okay.
And I also scanned the little sheet that I used when I never use a palette, so I always work on a paper, a scrap paper beside the painting. So this.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I scanned that because there were some interesting patterns, and sometimes it looks better than the painting itself. And I like to scan that as well to maybe use later on.
Neat.
So we're going to copy this Little Mermaid into its own file.
Okay.
And I do this just so.
What's the line work done in? I mean, the little bit of line work you have on the lobster and like her eyes. Is that just watercolor too?
That's like in the my God, a pen.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm really this. So.
Micron.
Stadler, but you can also use a micron. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like a generic fine liner pen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd assume you do that. Do you do that before all the watercolor, or do you do that after it's all dry?
And that's after.
Okay.
So
cool.
I sketch. I paint the outlines of the painting. I do that in pencil, graphite pencil.
Okay.
And the pen is added after the watercolor painting. But I'm not a big fan of line work, but the painting was just not very good. So I just had to add in those lines so I can see later on in Photoshop, what kind of creature I created. And I don't think I will keep this. I don't keep his current form.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always wondered how people made digital watercolor editable, if you get what I mean,
Yeah.
keeping things on layers and stuff, but this makes sense.
Okay. So yeah, usually it takes me quite a bit of time to get rid of this, this white outline.
Oh, yeah.
I did it really roughly right now. I really did not go all the way.
It's all good.
And it's supposed to be very smooth like this, you don't see that she came from a separate layer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
What's your tool of choice when you do get rid of that white? Do you just use the eraser tool, or do you use the magnetic lasso, or?
Well, I use the eraser for the really tiny bits, and I use the lasso for the really large bits. And when the background is white, I sometimes just use the levels to to make it
Oh, to
white,
get rid of it. Yeah. Okay.
which is very, very sloppy. But if you need to be able to have a transparent layer, then yeah, I have to do it manually. And I'm sure there must be much more efficient ways to do that. So if somebody knows how, that would be great.
I wish I knew more about Photoshop.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Well, you never know. I'd imagine there's probably no really good way to get it perfect with just a button click, because there's so many interesting like fading textures and really interesting fuzzy lines, and it would just never be quite good enough, I think, compared to doing it by hand.
I'm sorry. I just I was not paying attention. I'm sorry.
I'm saying your method is probably best.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's time consuming, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeps a nice look of the like hand of the artist in there, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also, for my picture book, I did I also created layers, but they were photographed actually, so they were not scanned, flat. And then I had a little white line around the characters, so you saw that it was made from another layer of paper. So you can
Neat.
do it too. So I'm just going to make her a little darker. Yeah, she really needs a lot of work. So I don't think I will. I don't know how much time we have, but I don't think I will get her fully out of the the white background in this section.
Do you ever use the quick select with the refine?
No, not that much. No, I'm not very familiar with it.
Sometimes when I have to do like kind of quick and messy, it's not as good as like going in and hand removing things, but the quick select, you can kind of select and then modify that selection. Or like using layer masks, you can quick select all, everything, and then really go back in and fine tune if you're just like working really fast. I use it a lot when I know that I have to get something out in a really short amount of time.
Okay. I don't, maybe I can I can look that up sometime, because it would save me a lot of time. I do work a lot with layer masks. So I think I'm just going to drop her in there.
Sure.
This is where she will go. Yeah. So I need to find a good place for her.
Yeah.
So it's a sketch here.
So with this character, do you kind of like refine the ends of the hair like in the end, or do you like have it trailing off screen, off the page?
For this particular illustration, I was thinking about having it go all the way up, but I'm not very sure yet. So
Okay.
I went into this, thinking I'm going to experiment a bit.
Sure.
Let's see. Yeah, so I guess
Awesome.
I'll just begin.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
wait, sorry. Yeah. I'm really going all over the place here. Did anyone find this as nerve-wracking as me? Because I'm really not used to having people watch me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're doing great.
And I can't see your faces, so that makes it even worse.
Oh,
Just
I can stop.
pretend we're not here. We're just little voices in your head. Nothing special. Just do what you gotta do.
I am enjoying it, so keep on going. I enjoy it. What you're doing is wonderful.
Really? Okay.
Yes, beautiful.
Very interesting process. I enjoying it as well.
Yeah, it's very unique and very calming, especially with the image. This feels like a very calm, like, piece to be working on, and a calm way to work on things.
Okay. I'm using I have some of my favorite brushes here, and I don't know if you noticed, but I made a layer mask, so I am going in and erasing these white outlines, but I'm not erasing it because that's a bit destructive, because maybe I want to get back to it, or I'm not very happy with how it turned out. And I'm using this brush, or one of these textured brushes, to keep the outlines intact, because I don't want to go too flat, because it will give too much of a contrast between the traditional painting and the digital edits. I guess you can see it a bit here. So I made this last year, I think I said so. And you see this is very very slick, and I don't want that look again.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why.
How often do you go back to paper and redo a character and scan it in or whatnot?
You mean to editor on the paper, or?
Yeah, like you just decide that, yeah, you didn't do a good enough job, or she's not positioned correctly, and you start over from paper. You do that quite a bit or not?
Yeah, well, in this case, I would really want to do her head again, because it's not very good. And I can also do that digitally. So I think normally I wouldn't go back to the watercolor again. I think I would edit it digitally, unless it's real bad, Then I will absolutely go back. Yeah. So.
How long does a cute little character like this take you to do in watercolor? Like sketch and watercolor, like start to finish?
Well, I did this today. I think I started, I don't know. When did I think 1:30, or maybe 1 o'clock. I don't know. I think I did a couple of hours for the background and the characters. I actually made some extra characters also.
I was just about to ask if you ever do that. Yeah, like, oh, cool.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Well, they
fishies.
did not. I'm not going to use them because they're worse than a mermaid. So I think I'm just going to create them. It came out all cartoony, but it's because I used the pencil. It's really just not my style, I think.
Yeah, not what you're going for? Okay.
No.
I think they're cute. But then again, I love cartoony stuff, so.
Yeah, but I really did this really fast. So what I said, in a couple of hours, I created these three things to show. And normally I really would not share this with the world.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome. So like these little, I don't know how you call that in English.
Scales?
Scales, yeah. So I created those here, and I did that for that piece as well, for the piece from last year, so I can use these tiny details.
Nadia, I think your fish, the first one from the right, the blue one with the big eyes, is beautiful. It's so cute. It says a lot. Yeah, the one on the right, just where you have your marking, just go up. That one. The one on the right.
Oh, so this one or that one?
No. That one. Yes.
Yeah, he came out a bit grumpy,
No, it's cute. It's so cute.
Oh wait.
Nadia.
Yeah.
How many layers in your purple illustration that you did? How many layers did you end up with? How many smaller pieces did you put in there to layer on top of it?
Well, I can show you.
Actual people talking and everything. I love it.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry that I missed half an hour though.
Sorry.
Is it always? It's
always an hour.
So this was one of the layers. I will just open them. It's maybe I did not really have a lot of layers for that one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they are downloaded from Dropbox, so it's a bit slow. And that was the background for that piece.
Mm-hmm. Like in general, approximately how many layers do you end up with your final Photoshop file? Like all the layers stacked on top?
Yeah, very many. I think maybe 70 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Really, but I'm really sloppy with that.
Yeah, I guess because like each scale is a layer, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
Oh my. I think I lost a file. Oh. Or maybe not. Oh, wait. Well, that's for later care.
That's all good.
Yeah, I hope
I love that purple.
because it was really a lot more. I think it's about 70 layers when I don't name every layer and I don't group them. And but I try not to. You know, I always start naming the layers and yeah.
I do the same thing. I always end up with just a pile of unnamed random layers, some of them on, some of them off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, you know, you keep searching for the right layer.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Do you ever just set the layer type to multiply when you're putting on little leg details like this?
Yes. Yeah, well, overlay most of the time. But.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Could you talk a little bit about how you started doing this kind of process? Like, it is such a unique way to work, and I've never seen somebody like. It's almost like you're creating all of your layers that I would be creating in Photoshop, but you create them in the real world and then you compile them. And I'd love to know how you kind of brought this about in your own way.
Yeah, so I used to make paintings to sell. So I did a lot of art for sale. I still do. So paintings, and I started using a lot of 3D materials and layering. But you know, in the physical, I think I can show you if you if you have a moment. Yeah. So it's like this. I can't see myself, so I'm not sure if you can if you can even see this.
Yep, we can see it.
So there are multiple layers, and I sold paintings, and I thought it would be whimsical, you know, a cute idea to have separate layers, so more like a paper cut art, but then painted. And then I thought, you know, I can only sell the painting once. So if I digitize it, I can actually make prints of it and sell those. Not that I'm all about selling, but I thought there must be a better way to not just have only the painting. And I thought it would be fun to have digital files as well. And then I did that also for my book. So these are all paintings which were created in that way, so with a lot of you know, paper layers.
Oh, cool.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And so I did a whole book of that, and then I thought, you know, I can also just create those layers and import them separately. So I was always making pictures, you know, like you asked me when we started. Well, I didn't make the pictures myself, but I have had them scanned by a very large scanner that doesn't have contact with the surface of the painting.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of like a camera, but a very huge one. And then I thought, you know, that should be I should be able to do that more easily and less expensive. And then I just started to scan those separate layers, and that is my current style. So with the other approach, you know, you could see the shadows and more of like the 3D aspects of the layers. And I'm moving a bit away from that, so you get just a regular painting.
Oh, super cool.
So that's that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The one I just submitted for the contest this month, I did watercolor on essentially paper layers, the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting being able to do that. It gives you a lot of flexibility, just similar to Photoshop's layers, but in traditional.
Yeah, it's a great way to work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's always a lot of experimenting, because, you know, this could go either way, this this painting. Yeah, sorry, I'm having trouble finding the image because the zoom thing is on top of the
And we're asking so many questions. Yeah. All good.
Yeah, I can't find you. No. Okay.
Do you ever just reuse a scale and copy and paste?
Yeah. I do that, yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
I sometimes use parts from the background as well, so I just recycle them.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not looking very good, but you know, you get the point.
We get the point. Yeah, no.
So what I would do next is to create this little fellow in his own separate layer, and not as he is, you know, with the same colors, but not looking as he does now.
A refined version.
Yeah. But this would really be an experiment, so so bear with me.
It's all good.
So usually when I create new animals, you know, in the watercolor painting layer, I can just, for example, create a fish by just taking a bit of her hair.
Oh, cool.
And then, you know, just copy pasting it.
Oh,
and
that's
that
smart.
Way you can also make other animals like this one, but he will be a bit more complex, so I'm not sure.
And then you don't have to worry about you know, fixing all the white areas around the animals. You can just kind of copy paste to your heart's content.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I would wish that I would have created these ones a bit better, but oh well. I think I will go in and redraw these because I really did those very fast. You can see that I was struggling with time here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a very lot of work, I think, to do with this painting, so I'm not really sure what to show right now. Is there anything in particular you would like to see? Because this, I think, I would spend another 10 hours on this to make it look good.
Oh wow, well that's a good question actually. How long do you spend on a piece, start to finish, usually?
Yeah, I think that really depends. Some paintings I work on for, I think, like 5 hours. And I also have ones that I easily spend 20 hours or more on.
Wow.
I think it depends on the complexity.
Do you go in, so let's say you've laid this all out, you have all your fish. Do you start going in and laying other textures on? Do you ever like screen in lighting? Do you know, what are some of the finishing little like frosting bits that you'll be putting on in the end?
Yeah, I do work a lot with textures on top, but that's mostly, I think, for the images that I already painted digitally. So with these watercolor paintings, I think I will just go back and add some lighting details. So I think I would maybe add a little bit of texture in the foreground. Yeah, just some finishing touches. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, would you be able to show a little bit on how you adjust the lighting for one of your pieces? Like for this one, like would you put in like a beam of light that would hit her, and do you do that digitally, or is that how would you go about adding that into this kind of piece?
I would do that digitally. So when painting, I already did keep in mind the lighting in the background. So yeah, it didn't work out very well because the paint already was pretty dry. But I did try to have the light come in from the top here, and on the place that she is sitting, which will be surrounded by some more plants. And to add some more lighting, I think I would do it manually, but just use a brush that resembles the texture here, and then I think maybe lower the opacity until it feels right.
Okay, cool.
I think.
That's a good way to do it.
I don't know if that's the right way, but.
And we have a couple of questions from Carolyn. The first one is, when you worked on your book, Did your process change at all from start to finish?
Oh yeah, that was pretty difficult actually, because I started working on the book in 2017, and I had been thinking about the ideas for the book, I think, for over a year, but then I started. And because I was doing it next to commissions and my shop and everything, I really worked in a very low pace. So I would maybe finish a painting once every few months. So I worked all the way through 2018. And then I did a Kickstarter campaign. And that was funded in October of 2018. And then in last year of March, I published the book. So in that whole time, I was working on the illustrations, and I was very frustrated because in 2017, I worked differently than in 2019. And I think in 2017, I used a lot of details. And when I look at those paintings now, I really don't like them very much. And after that, I started, the SVS courses, I think in 2018 or 2019. Well, anyway, I started working there, and that's when I started to pay attention to composition and, other factors. And I didn't even do that in 2017. So it was really frustrating at times to keep that style going. It had to be cohesive in the book. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And we got one more question. It's really open-ended, but hey, how do you determine which pieces are successful? Like, Ellen, what pieces do you think are successful of yours?
No, that's a good question. Well, I'm very I'm always very concerned with the general look of it. I don't know how to put that into words, but is it aesthetically pleasing? And just recently, I think in the last few months, I've also tried to work more on the narrative, because I now know that that's also quite important. And
surprise to me too.
Yeah, that really blew my mind. I got the criticism from Lee White. I don't know if you're all on SVS.
I think most of us are, yeah.
Yeah, he did a small portfolio review, and he just pointed out some things in my portfolio, and he was totally right, because I was making a lot of the images that I created for my Etsy shop, so to sell. And
okay.
I really had, I really was looking for aesthetically pleasing images. So the design had to be right. So that's one way I judge my illustrations, but they had very little story behind them. So he said that my characters almost looked a bit surprised to be in the shot. But I thought it was really fun to hear and something to work with. But I think it's because of the purpose I was making the illustrations for. So for my web shop, as opposed to a picture book where you, of course, have a lot of narrative. And I only created my own picture book up until now. Yeah, I did some when I just started out as an illustrator, but I do not count them.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay, any other questions from people?
Nadia, do you paint digitally on top of your characters in Photoshop after you've done?
Yes.
Okay, you do. Okay, can you show a little bit of a process on that, because I'm actually doing exactly the same process today, like painting watercolor in different layers, and my characters is a disaster, because the characters on my piece are so small, so it's really hard to paint it properly. So I'm considering not repaint, to just paint digitally on top. I was wondering if you have like any tips and tricks of doing that, to not make the character, not make the digital stroke so, standing out.
I understand. So I do paint on top of the characters, but I also you know, I will take small bits of their skin.
You continue.
That's what I do for fun. And you know, so I will have the texture here that's here, for example. So you know, I'm not very pleased with the way the shape of her head turned out, but oh well. Because when you look at this one, you know, it's very round, and I do want it to be kind of the same character, like they could be from the same story. So I will go in there and take a bit of her. This just won't sound good, but and then I will, you know, put that on top. But I also paint on top, so I will demonstrate that also. So, for example, to make her cheek a bit rounder, I will put that on top, that layer on top, and then I will just erase this part.
Do you ever use the clone tool?
Yeah, I also do that. And for for tiny pieces like this, of tiny adjustments like this, that's a good option. But for very large pieces to correct, I usually don't use the clone stamp. Or the clone tool or stamp tool. So,
what tool is that you're using right now?
That's the clone.
Oh, okay.
Clone stamp tool, yeah. So I've already made her cheek a bit more round, but it's not finished yet. But you can paint on top. What would you like to adjust in your character, for example?
I might like redo the facial features entirely. You know, like I might just clone, erase the eyes, and then paint the eye on top.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do stuff like that. Like, oh, I messed up.
I do, and then I think I just edit it like I would in a digitally painted piece, and just make sure that the texture is all right. So I would maybe put another, you know, if I would paint an eye here, then I would, you know, make sure that it blends in very well. So I can just erase this eye. And then create a new one. Whoa. No. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's not quite right, but you get my point.
Yeah. What brush are you using? I think that was that's a Sargent brush, it said?
Well, no, the previous one was. This is just
okay.
a HB pencil, and I use it all the time.
Okay, cool. If I tried this, I'd be tempted to do the watercolor painting without any line work at all myself. Like, no kind of where it's going, but just do the watercolor and then scan it and then do all the line work digitally.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be tempted to try to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also tempted to try to just paint like the overall shape and texture and do all the details digitally. But I find it is so hard to paint traditional with all the small details there, and it's so easy to make a mistake and screw up the piece.
But it's so easy digitally.
Yeah, I know. So yeah. Wow.
Very cool.
I love the nose.
Oh yeah, that nose is perfect.
Yeah.
The nose is not going to stay.
Oh no.
You're not happy with anything, are you?
I'm happy with the background. Yeah. And she's a bit curvaceous, so I like that.
Oh yeah, she's got a nice curve.
Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well this has been eye-opening for me, honestly enough. I'll have to try this myself. Just for fun.
Okay.
All right.
So have you ever done traditional media?
I've tried to make some watercolor like textures for myself using like scrap watercolor paper and ink and water, and it kind of worked, but it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. I think I need to find some tutorials on how to paint wet on wet, and how to actually watercolor paint, because there's a lot more technique to it than I ever would have imagined.
It can be pretty difficult, but it's also so
it's very pretty.
Did
you
watch
can't
Lee White? One of the classes is just him actually painting a watercolor picture.
Yeah.
That was very eye-opening because I'd never done watercolor before that, and it has just a ton of it just has a ton of information of just all the things to do, and it's literally just like an hour of him just painting is all it is.
I think I've seen it. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, are you talking about Lee White's watercolor painting class?
Yeah, I think it was how to loosen up in watercolor.
Yeah. I've seen that one as well. Actually, there's one new watercolor tutorial on SVS. It's really good. It's basically about how to use a 5-color palette. So to kind of like it is like a very basic watercolor tutorial, but it helped me a lot. So I just bought the 5 tubes that is mentioned on the tutorial, and then it's basically 5 color that you can mix and layering on top of each other, glazing, and never gets muddy. So that's kind of the magic. So you can get like variations of color in very crazy way. It's really beautiful colors. You should check that tutorial out.
I'll do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's one of the newest watercolor tutorial on SBS.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that out. Okay. And I think we're nearing the end of our time. But this has been that's with the little smiley face underneath. That's perfect. Does anyone have any more questions for Nadia before we wrap up? Blue shell. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well then, so thank you, Nadia. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you, Nadia.
I'm gonna try this out myself. And next week we have Taylor will be presenting, if I remember correctly, who may be here today. Yeah. Awesome. So next week we're back to the regular time, right? 1 o'clock Pacific. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I can tell. All right. So.
See you then. Bye.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.